So, you've decided that you want to go vegan, whether it be for the animals, the environment, or just your own health. Today I'll be giving you some simplistic guidelines and tips to follow. I have Dory memory, so I do not remember exactly how long ago I started eating plant-based. I think, according to my family, it's been about 2.5 years. And in that time, I have learned quite a bit. My number one tip for anyone looking to start eating plant-based is to have your reasons for going vegan or starting to eat plant-based clear. In almost every aspect of life, it is very good to be clear on why you are doing things, and that makes it a lot easier to get the motivation to actually do them, even if your purpose for going vegan is just to try it. But if you find a purpose for going vegan that is more morally rooted, then that makes it easier to go along with the diet. I, for example, initially cut down on my animal product consumption because of animal cruelty. And in my head now, since I've been doing this for a while, it's hard to separate an animal product from animal cruelty. The longer you do it, the more used to it you'll get, and the easier that eating on a plant-based diet will get because it'll just become habit. Also, for example, if you've struggled in the past with disordered eating habits, it's important to check in with yourself and be clear that you are not just following a vegan diet for the sake of restricting. Once you've got a little bit of intrinsic motivation from having found your purpose for eating vegan, it's also nice to have some extrinsic motivation, whether it be through friends you have that are also vegan, or just looking for more of a sense of community and feeling more outwardly connected to plant-based eating. So, real briefly, let's talk about the way that I eat so that it may give you guys an idea on how to structure your own way of eating. The way I've found that is best for my health and the easiest for me is just having a balanced diet, in the sense that I have a good amount of protein, a good amount of fat, and a good amount of carbs. So some proteins I might use in meals might be quinoa, tofu, or any type of legume like beans and lentils. In terms of fats, nuts and seeds, whether that be through the actual nuts and seeds or nut butters and seed butters, or like fatty fruit. I guess the only fatty fruit that I can think of is avocado, but what I mean is avocado. Also, a tiny bit of oil is not to be demonized. There still is a lot of demonization of fats in the vegan community, but fats are important to keep your hair, skin, and nails healthy. So I would recommend that you still eat a good amount of fat. In terms of carbohydrates, that would be our vegetables, our fruits, our root vegetables, our grains. I also try to listen to my body as much as I can with hunger cues. I eat when I'm hungry, I stop when I'm full. To some of you that may seem like an obvious principle, but it isn't to a lot of people. And I try and focus the way I eat on whole foods, like more unprocessed goods. But I do feel like it's important to have a balance, and I definitely treat myself whenever I feel like it. Something to note about eating on a plant-based diet is that it is harder to get complete protein. Complete protein would refer to a protein that has all 9 essential amino acids. You need to be eating a good amount of all the 9 amino acids. There are a few nearly complete vegan protein sources like buckwheat, chia, quinoa, soy products like tofu, etc. However, other foods such as certain beans have a low amount of certain amino acids. The way you fix this is by combining foods that have a higher amount of the amino acid that the other food is missing. A classic example would be rice and beans, because rice is low in lysine and beans are high in lysine, while rice is high in the amino acids that beans are missing. So together, they make a more or less complete protein. A way to look at this very simplistically, which is how I construct my meals, is that whenever you're having a legume of some sort, you want to pair it with a grain. And that in general will usually balance out and create a almost complete protein. You can have a meal that does not have complete protein. For example, let's say you had a bean salad for lunch with some greens, some steamed broccoli maybe. So long as throughout the day you add some sort of grain that combines with it and creates a complete protein, you will be fine. In terms of the overall amount of protein that you need, the very bare minimum is 0.5 grams per pound of body weight. So for example, for me, I weigh 100 pounds, so my minimum amount of protein that I could have in a day is 50 grams. But ideally, if you want to build muscle on a vegan diet, you should shoot for 0.8 to 1.1 grams of protein per body weight. So the way I'd go about knowing whether I'm getting a good amount of vitamins, minerals, and macronutrients I need on a vegan diet is that I would suggest that for the first week of trying a vegan diet, you track your food on Chronometer or MyFitnessPal and check that everything is in the right ranges and that you're getting enough of the calories that you need. This is especially important if you are an athlete or are very active or you want to build muscle. Supplementation is very important on a vegan diet. Obviously, you're going to want to try and get as many of the nutrients that you need from your actual diet, but it's always good, even if you just have a multi. As a vegan, you're going to want to pay special attention to B12, iron, calcium, vitamin D, and your omega-3 fatty acids. And usually those nutrients and certain minerals are a lot easier to slip up on than protein. Chances are you will be getting an adequate amount of protein from your diet so long as you're eating in a varied and healthy way. I personally take a multivitamin that covers all my little base needs. A few foods that I ideally consume on a daily basis to ensure that I get all of my nutrients in are fortified almond milk, flax seeds for my omega-3 fatty acids, some kind of green, half to a full serving of vegan protein powder, berries for antioxidants, and my multi. This list might be different for you, but just ensure that you are hitting your targets. Make sure that you are informed about what you are putting in your body and you read ingredients lists and all that. Things that you'd never guess have dairy products in them. Don't be afraid of mock meats and all that, but also don't depend on them too much because a lot of mock meats are really high in sodium. There's no shame in transitioning into plant-based eating slowly. I think I was flexitarian for a year or two until I started eating completely plant-based. When you go onto a vegan diet initially, it is quite an increase in most people's fiber intake. So if you don't slow yourself into it, you might have digestive issues of some sort, gas, bloating from the rapid increase of fiber. But there's also nothing wrong with transitioning quickly. If you feel like going cold turkey will help you succeed, then go ahead, just be prepared. The biggest advice that I can give you, I will quote Scar on this, is be prepared. There will be moments where if you're eating plant-based, you're gonna miss out on certain foods. So just mentally be prepared for that. And also, if you're gonna go out, you might have to plan a little bit more, like of your meals. You might have to call restaurants you might be going to ensure that they have vegan options for you, or just check their Instagram or something like that. A tip when ordering vegan things for yourself, especially in areas where veganism isn't as common, don't ask whether they have vegan options, or ask it and then clarify well what is veganism, because sometimes people will get confused by what veganism means. In some areas, if they don't know what veganism is well enough. They might just give you vegetarian options and you will be none the wiser. So just make sure that the people you are speaking to know what veganism is, and that way you don't accidentally end up with a meal that is not vegan. Also, if you slip up and at some point eat something that is not vegan, there is no need to freak out over it. You can always just restart. Plant-based eating is more of a lifestyle thing than it is a fad diet. It's not something most people go through really quickly. Just because you accidentally eat something that has animal products in it does not mean it is the end of the world. In the same vein, sometimes weigh your options. Maybe you did all you could in telling the waiters what you wanted and what veganism is, but sometimes they will bring you something like a side with veggies with a little bit of butter, and then you have to decide whether it's really worth it for you to tell the people in the kitchen to take back those vegetables, because then those vegetables will not be eaten by anyone. Obviously, if it's not something you're comfortable eating, then return it to the kitchen. Ultimately, veganism can be fun. It gives you an opportunity to try a lot of new things, new recipes, new foods that you might have not heard of before or you might have not tried, and you're actively changing something to help the environment or help animals or help your health, and that is very important. That is the basic things that you need to know when going into a vegan diet. If you like this video, drop a like down below. If you'd like to see more where this came from, then hit the subscribe button. Leave a comment if your heart so desires, and I will see you next time. Bye. I can hear what sounds like a donkey.